Hello, everyone. We are the music therapy interns at the ORU Music Therapy Clinic, and we just want to take a minute to introduce ourselves as we get ready to share a little bit about our experience thus far in our internships. My name is Janelle Carnuth. I am from Redbud, Illinois. I went to school at Indiana Wesleyan University, and I started my internship in May of 2020.
Hi everyone, I'm Sophia Buffard. I'm from Muscatine, Iowa, and I went to college at Wartburg College. It's a small town college in Waverly, Iowa. And I started here in June of 2020.
And hi everyone, my name is Caitlin Pavelik. I am from South River, New Jersey. I went to college at Queen's University of Charlotte in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I started here at ORU in September of 2020.
Great. Well, now that we have introduced ourselves, we would like to share a little bit about our experience. And so we'll just answer some questions that we have. So to start off with, how would you describe your internship experience thus far?
I'll go. I think I would describe my internship experience so far as very rewarding, very exploratory, and at the same time, as I'm learning, I feel like there's a big difference between student and intern that has also been really rewarding to see myself kind of grow into that and change my and grow myself at the same time. And as I am nearing the end of my internship, starting to see the difference between intern and professional and starting to flip over to that as well. So definitely a period of growth, a period of exploration of who I am as a music therapist and how I have grown throughout this internship.
Yeah, I can kind of echo that similar experience to you, Sophia. Just feeling like there's been like a lot of stretching and a lot of growing that has then resulted from that as I have been um, put in different situations to explore and to grow my skills, leading, co-leading, and working with a wide range of clients. And looking back at it, I am so thankful for the opportunity to have been able to grow in such a uh, structured and nurturing environment. And so I'm really thankful for that. Yeah, just a lot of growth.
Yeah, I feel that I've only been here for a few months now, but the change in those few months has been immense, I feel. And I think that a big part of that is how supportive this internship is. Not only are you pushing yourself, you are learning so much, everyone around you wants you to succeed. And your co-interns, your supervisors, everybody here wants to make sure that you're getting the best possible experience you are. And they will support you throughout the entire way to make sure that you get there, which has been really, really nice.
I agree. It's super great. So our next question, what were some apprehensions that you may have had coming to internship given the COVID-19 pandemic, and how were those apprehensions addressed?
Yeah, so the beginning of my internship, so COVID-19 happened and I was a senior in college and everything around me shut down. And then I was like, is my internship going to shut down? What is that going to be like? I was worried about being able to complete the internship first off. And then I was worried about getting enough hours. And I was worried about the safety here. If we were going to be, what that was going to look like. And I think that everybody else was cognizant of just the same worries. I got an email from my internship supervisor before she was my internship supervisor after I had accepted, and just she said, "Hey, I'm reaching out to you just to let you know this is our plan. This is what we have in place." Everything was structured and laid out for me. I could see where my hours were going to be. And I also really appreciated that they adapted to online very quickly. So when I came, we started with online sessions only, and then we made a transition back into the clinic. And so safety wise, going back into the clinic, everything, we have very strict cleaning regulations, very strict protocols on how to share instruments, things like that. And everybody here is looking out for the best for each other, the best for the safety of the clients, and thinking through things. It takes a lot of work, but at the same time, it's been really rewarding to see how we can operate still during COVID and be safe at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think kind of similar for me. I found out that I had been accepted right at the end of February, beginning of March, and so I was so excited that I finally had my internship. And then I found out about COVID, and it hit, and then everything went up in the air, and I wasn't even sure if I still had an internship. Uh, but thankfully, the staff, the supervision, was prepared and ready to continue the work that they had been starting, just in a new format. And they welcomed me right on board. I think one of my biggest apprehensions was at first figuring out how to do online music therapy sessions because I did not have any training in that in college. So I felt so unprepared for that aspect. And supervisors here just did an excellent job of walking alongside me and kind of showing me the ropes. The other intern that was here before I was, she took time to help me walk through how this worked, and that helped me immensely. And it just relieved a lot of pressure to know that I had people by my side willing to walk this through with me instead of just leaving me to figure it out on my own. And so that was really encouraging as I first started. And then I ended up moving from Illinois because I was doing telemusic therapy from my home in Illinois, and then we decided to open up in person. And so I moved states in the middle of the pandemic, and so I was a little nervous about that. um, but they were really just supportive through that whole transition as well, giving me time I needed off to make that move, giving me advice as to places in the area that were like good to look for housing since I wasn't familiar with it. And they just extended help however they could throughout that whole process, and that really just encouraged me.
I think going off of that, I also moved across the country for this internship. Being from New Jersey, it's about a 22-hour drive, so I was definitely afraid of coming in, not knowing really what the pandemic looked like in not only Oklahoma, but at ORU. Not really knowing if the clinic was going to stay open. I had a lot of friends where their internships were being shut down. They were being put on a leave from March until who knows when because they couldn't go in because it wasn't safe. So I came in here thinking, what's going to happen? You know, halfway through my internship, is it going to shut down? And those fears have been alleviated. And I got to come in when everything was back in person. Yes, there are still online sessions, but my supervisor and then the co-interns here have worked so hard from March until now to create a sound structure for the online sessions. And they have been so supportive and so knowledgeable in what to do and how to teach me, and just getting me to the point where I feel like I'm comfortable doing something I've never done before. So recorded sessions and online sessions, working with a variety of populations in an online format. And then also knowing that we're coming in here and this is a safe environment. we not only care for each other, keeping each other safe, but we just want to make sure that the clients are safe as well. And another thing I really appreciate are the clients and their families who also want to make sure that we're safe and their children are safe. So they will follow the precautions. Everyone is so supportive, and it's been a very nice time to alleviate all the fears that I had when I was coming into it in the first place.
Yes, it's definitely worth it. I think that's a common theme I'm seeing is that we all have these apprehensions we bring in, but taking it one step at a time and knowing that you're in good hands really helps. All right, so for our next question, describe your experience in working with a wide range of clientele. Have your skills developed in working with each population?
So
Yeah.
I've
Go ahead, you.
Oh, so I've had work in a variety of populations within my schooling and also outside of my schooling. I've done a lot of work with individuals with IDDs, intellectual and developmental disorders, and I've worked with geriatrics as well. And I think through my time here, what I thought my skills were in those populations and those settings have just flourished. I've learned new redirection techniques. I've learned new interventions. I thought I was confident in working with those populations, but working here, my confidence in being a music therapy intern into a future MTBC has just grown immensely. And I think another big change has been working with geriatrics and working with younger children in an online format. It's something that I've never done before, and having to take those skills that you have and turn them into something new, and learning how to engage your clients online and redirect your clients and do everything from a session and put it into a format where you can't really get that one-on-one physical interaction with your client. It's been really nice to learn those skills and be taught by people who are so knowledgeable and have worked so hard to get to that point in order to feel confident. So I think that's the biggest change.
Yeah, kind of going off of that, I remember my first session that I was leading by myself with one of my clients. It was online, and it was a very young child who had a lot of attention, would walk away from the camera and things like that. So my interventions had to be quick. My transitions had to be very fast, had to be highly engaged, highly motivating. And the first time I just remember feeling after I'd completed an online session with them by myself and successfully done it, I just remember feeling this immense, there was a change in me in that moment, in my confidence and in my different levels of prompting, in my ability to see what the client needed in the moment and ways to keep them engaged. Online sessions have taught me a lot. I also didn't have as many experiences with children before coming to ORU through our practicum sites in school. So I was really thankful that I had a lot of different populations to work with that were younger, and also in that teen young adult group. I've had lots of young adults, and just being able to figure out how to create that sense of rapport with them, as well as the one being, in charge of the session, as you're pretty similar in age, has been a different path, or a growing path for me. And I definitely feel like my confidence in leading those types of sessions has grown immensely. And also, I feel like through different, mock sessions with my supervisors or things like that, of going through and really taking the time to make sure that I'm understanding all of these things before we go into the session. I really appreciate the amount of the time that they will take to work with you and alongside you through the things that you want to work on.
Yeah, that's great. I think kind of echoing a lot of what I'm hearing you guys saying. I definitely feel like having a wide range of clients provides a way to become well-rounded as a clinician. Just getting experience in all these different fields enables you to build your skills and figure out how you can adapt things. And I think it makes you more flexible as a professional because you're realizing, oh, this skill I used over here, I can use it over here in this. Even though it's a completely different setting, I can adjust it in this way to make it more appropriate for the setting, but it's still that same skill. And learning how to be able to morph and mold just to make it the best for each client. And I think that is something that is also echoed through the online versus in-person format. Just being able to learn that flexibility of being able to do things in person, being able to do things online, and still providing quality experiences, quality interactions, and progress regardless of the format. And I think that this internship provided just that. And I knew that I was going to grow an experience through my internship, but I don't think I was aware how much I would grow through this entire experience with the wide range in ages, in diagnoses, and in formats as well. All right, so this next question, how has your clinical skills developed in multicultural music therapy? So at the ORU Music Therapy Clinic, despite the pandemic, we have had the opportunity to grow in some very unique ways, and one of those ways being through international telehealth music therapy services. And so we've been able to work with with a client internationally. And Sophia had the opportunity to work with this client. So could you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So at Warburg, I earned a Spanish minor, and my mom's side of the family is Mexican, and so learning Spanish has always been an important goal of mine. And using it in a clinical setting was very different than using it, at home or, in a classroom setting or things like that. I definitely grew my understanding of levels of prompting within Spanish. Also, clinical words, like, how do you say things like, I had never prompted somebody or instructed somebody, lift your arms, or, higher, let's go higher now, or things like that. So I've been really grateful that my supervisors have taken the time with me to sit down and have mock sessions with me in Spanish over song discussions, making some recorded videos to send to these clients, and getting used to singing in Spanish as well. Singing in Spanish is very different than talking in Spanish. But we have the opportunity here. One of our supervisors speaks Spanish. She's bilingual. So we hope to have more Spanish-speaking clients in the future. So if that's something you're interested in, that's definitely an opportunity that's here for you as well.
Great, thank you. Yeah, just from an outside perspective, it has been just a really cool process to get to see how the clinic is expanding in this way, and it makes me very excited to see what other potential lies out there because these doors are opening up. All right, so these questions are specifically for the senior interns, so that's me and Sophia. And then we'll have some questions specifically for Caitlin. But to start off, Sophia, what is one of the main things you're going to take away from this internship experience?
Yeah, definitely something that I was not quite comfortable in before coming here was the use of NMT techniques. All of the supervisors here are certified in NMT and have gone through training. And before coming here, I think my view of NMT was I felt like it was a very strict way of doing music therapy. And here, we use these techniques in a humanistic view as well. So I think that for sure, using these techniques in every session that we do and kind of using it as a frame of mind and rationale for what we do has definitely shaped myself as a music therapist and how I view different aspects of music therapy. I also think one thing that I tend to have little pictures in my mind of music therapy moments, of ways that I've seen music therapy work, ways that I've seen, just seeing, wow, that is the power of music. And I have so many more snapshots of these interactions in my mind now that I can just take with me and just keep with me, keep these experiences, and have them help guide me in my way as a almost new MTBC.
Yes, that's awesome. Yes, I agree. Like just soaking it all in because I feel like all the things you've learned here, you're going to be able to use outside of the internship. And I agree. Kind of similar. I had a very limited perspective of NMT prior to coming here, and I knew what it was, but I hadn't necessarily used it or realized that I was using it in some of my practicum experience. And so getting to just really dive deep into that, I felt like that was really insightful. And I felt like exploring and diving deep into this approach enabled me to really make connections between application of what we're doing and the theories that we learn in school. So making those connections. We do this because we know this. And we're doing it this way because research says this. And so being able to make those connections, I felt really just helped put a lot of puzzle pieces that I had gathered from my college experience, but it just kind of connected them in a more cohesive way. And I was like, I get it now. This is great. And then, in addition to all of that, I think that this setting is such a unique setting because it is in connection with the Oral Roberts University. So it is a school associated clinic, and therefore a research is a very big part of this clinic. And so you can see that in the emphasis behind how we approach things, and then also in the way that we document our progress throughout the semester and through our final evaluations. And I feel like that is definitely another way that I have just really just grown and through that process it has taught me a lot of it's taught me how to use terminology a little bit better for the things that we're seeing in sessions. And I feel like it has really enabled me to develop that professional vocabulary. And so I think that is something that I'm really going to take away is being able to communicate in a more professional sense what we are doing for music therapy, and therefore being able to advocate for it better. All right, so one more question for the senior interns. How do you feel that this internship experience has prepared you for the workforce?
Well, I feel like we've touched on it a lot, but I feel like I have to say it. For sure, in this COVID world, I feel super confident in being able to lead both online and in-person sessions with the regulations that we would need to have an in-person session and the capabilities to understand technologically what I would need to do to prepare and then give a music therapy session online. I think too, with such a heavy emphasis on research, and as a teaching school, I think that we've had a lot of opportunities to kind of discuss, as Janelle said, the how and why of what we do things, which I think is very beneficial, not only for the CBMT exam, but also in the future, advocating for yourself and being able to explain, this is why this is working to insurance to parents to anybody you're working with, to be able to say and advocate for music therapy and explain or educate them on what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree that I definitely feel uh, similar, being able to feel comfortable, flexible, um, in regardless of setting, and able to advocate for myself better. And then I think, in addition to that, there is a lot of practical professional skills that I have developed that I never even really thought about coming into internship. Just little things like managing and advertising and billing and uh, you know making connections and all of those little things that are so essential not only as a professional music therapist, but just as a professional in general, knowing how to run your practice or knowing how your practice that you'll be joining will run and what tasks, administrative tasks might be expected of you. I feel so prepared in that aspect as well. So again, just very much feeling well-rounded and equipped to go out into the professional workforce.
For sure. Along with that, with the administrative tasks, something that was also really, I think, beneficial for me is being able to, they would say things like, and they would say things like, this is how you would do it for, if you're working somewhere that is already established. But if your private practice, we'll do it this way. They really walked you through all the different avenues you would have as a music therapist, knowing that you might not be in this exact setting, and this is not exactly how everybody does it, but this is some general rules that you should follow. So I really appreciated being able to have multiple perspectives and still getting the important bases covered.
Absolutely, yeah, I completely agree. They're so helpful and very thoughtful and just looking out for ways to help you be the most prepared that you can be.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Caitlin, a couple questions for you now. Since you still have a little bit left of your internship, um, how have you been supported through your internship experience so far?
I think one of the most supportive things that I've noticed so far is after every single session, your supervisor will always make sure that there is time to debrief with you. So they talk about what you did in the session, things that have gone well in the session, things that could be improved upon. And it's not so much just yes, this needs to improve, but they talk you through ways to improve it. So whether it be implementing those into new sessions or going into supervision that week and practicing on that, working on it in supervision and then implementing it, or even planning group workshops and group get-togethers with the other interns and the other supervisors, and working through the areas that you need to grow in. Um, Another thing is, again, like I've said, it's just a very supportive environment. So if you do have a skill that needs to improve upon, it's never written in a negative fashion. It's always, yes, this has to be improved upon, but here's what you're doing well so far, and here's ways that we can change it to get you to where you need to be. Because that's been one of the most helpful things, I think, to me in helping me grow so far.
Yeah, I agree. It's super supportive, very encouraging. I can echo that 1,000 times. Okay, and then what is something that you look forward to the most about this second half of your internship?
I'm just excited to continue to grow my skills. I'm excited to start to go from being kind of co-leading with a supervisor and other interns to leading on my own and making that switch. And I think that from the beginning until now, I'm already starting to make the switch between a student to a professional. And I'm excited to see where me now and me in 3 more months from now are going to be, because I think it's going to be a big change. So I cannot wait to see what happens in those 3 months.
I'm excited for you. I remember being in that same position around that time, just being like, all right, I'm excited because more growth is going to come. And just looking back now, I just grew so much more than I was even expecting. So I'm excited for you. All right, one last question before we wrap up here. Um, what would you say to prospective interns considering applying for this internship site?
I think one thing I would stress is that when you're applying for this internship and when you're going through the internship process in general, your intern supervisors or potential supervisors are not looking for a finished product. They're not expecting you to be this huge rock star music therapist. They're looking for you to be a growing music therapy student who is willing to push themselves to learn and willing to take control of their education and kind of start. I feel like the difference between an intern and a student is we have more control, I feel, over how we apply our settings. For example, I really wanted to work on improvisation here. I really wanted to work on my Spanish skills. I really found that I wanted to work on my technological skills. So those were kind of how things got centered around here. And I just felt like I was part of the team that was figuring out who I was going to be at the end of my internship versus letting my professors kind of lecture at me as I would in undergrad and kind of observing as a student as I would in undergrad. So again, they're not looking for a finished product. They're looking for a mind that's open and willing to learn and wanting to grow.
Yeah, just echoing that. I think that the best attitude that you can have coming into internship is just a desire to learn and to know that, kind of echoing what Sophia said, you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to, like, uh, be like be perfect at everything because it's unrealistic. We're not all perfect. and but the one thing that you can do is you can realize that you're growing. And so being able to realize your strengths as well as your weaknesses, being willing to grow, that's super important. And then to realize that growth is something that will continue through internship and even beyond internship. Uh, Internship isn't just a finish line. Granted, you get to that point and you get to then take your CBMT and finish, and you are now a professional. But you're still on that race to keep learning and growing, developing professionally. And so, recognizing that at the beginning, I think will be super liberating for you. But then I think it will also help you to be more conscientious of the ways that you choose to grow. I think that an internship is an opportunity that you kind of determine your growth through. Granted, you have to meet like certain like requirements in order to provide quality care for the clients. But at the same time, like be aware that what you put into this is what you're going to get out of it. So the more you put into this, the more you're going to grow and the more you're going to glean and the more you're going to soak up during the season. So just really don't try and just rush through it, but really just be conscientious of what you're putting into the season.
I think going off of that, it's so easy to go into an internship or be in school and practicums and start comparing yourself to other therapists or your professors, your supervisors. But an internship, it's really a time for you to discover yourself and discover your own leadership style and your own style of running a session and being a music therapist. Like going off of what Sophia said, it's not so much someone is sitting down and lecturing you. It's you are doing hands-on work to figure out what works best for you in a session. And I think being at ORU, being able to work in a multitude of different populations from developmental to psychiatric to geriatric, not only can you really discover your own learning style, but it helps you find out where you want to go for the rest of your life as a future MTBC. So just don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone, kind of push yourself a little bit, because that's what internship is for. And no matter where you are, your supervisors, your co-interns, everyone is there to help build you up in that self-discovery.
Yeah, and echoing that, one last thing I want to share with you is something that our director kind of mentioned in one of our meetings. She talked about how a pioneer doesn't always have it figured out before they start. Sometimes you just have to start. So if you're feeling overwhelmed about applying and all the requirements for applying, just start somewhere. Start small and just keep making baby steps. And that's how you get through the application process. That's how you get through internship. Just take it one step at a time, but start. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and our roundtable discussion of the ORU Music Therapy Internship Program. We hope it was beneficial for you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to help you in any way that we can. Goodbye.